go for it.
Okay, so again, thank you for having us. Thank you to the organizers for the Canadian Cloud Summit. Today, we are here to talk around the name of the session is the rise of the Copilot from low code switching to data analysis mastery. But what is the idea of the session is use Copilot, or I should say use agents to create us an end-to-end solution, starting from creating the applications, data model, processes on the Power Platform, and then switch into Fabric, taking the data generated on the Power Platform and continue using agents and Copilot to have an end-to-end solution ending on Power BI on some point. That's the idea, the overall idea of the session today with the demo and all. So let's start with a couple of slides just to stay all on the same page. First of all, thank you the organizers. Thank you Cyclotron, Cruz, Spark, and Cabeza for make that possible. And so please, Gaston, could you introduce yourself?
Sounds good, Alex. Pleasure to come back here for another Cloud Summit. This is, again, another kind of a really great way to share knowledge with community. This is one of the things that we would love to share as well. And as Alex mentioned before, we are trying to break down the silos between what we call the data platform space and the business application space. My name is Gaston Cruz. I'm Senior Director for Slalom here in the US. I live in Seattle for the last 6 years or so. I am a Microsoft MVP in data platform space for the last 8-9 years right now. I am part of the advisory board for the Microsoft Fabric Feature Partner Program out of Fabric. I am part of the Fabric Voice Connection. We're working directly closely with the Fabric product team out of Microsoft. I've been in the Microsoft Certified Trainer space for the last 15 years. With Alex, we have our YouTube channel. Please go ahead, like, subscribe on that channel. Power Mates is the name. I am also a leader in the Seattle Power BI user group and also a member of the Microsoft Global Data Communities Council. So that's a little bit of an introduction of myself. Switching back to you, Alex.
Yeah, thanks, Gaston. Okay. Okay, my name Alex Rostan here. I'm here. I am in Canada. I'm in Toronto right now. I moved to Toronto 4 years ago with my family. I'm originally from Uruguay, South America, as well, Gaston. So this is part of the funny thing with the, as Gaston mentioned, the community. We can share sometimes and do some presentations together on this kind of event. I'm MVP on business applications, particularly on Copilot Studio and Power Automate. I've been MVP for the last 6 years at this time. I'm also work as a cloud architect and innovation manager. I'm also user group leader for a couple of Power Platform user groups up here in North America, but also lead some user groups on South America. As Gaston mentioned before, I have a PowerMate channel, and it's funny because on the channel we're trying to do pretty much the same thing we are trying to do today on the presentation, on the session. It's combine the business applications and the Power Platform with Microsoft Fabric and trying to combine and create real world cases and show how we can work with the different technologies and combining them. So, but let's start. So first of all, Power Platform. For those maybe pretty out of the Power Platform technology, Power Platform, it's a suite of tools, designed to empower on some point business users, or we can say business users, or that Microsoft or Satya named a couple of years ago, the citizen developers to build applications, to automate workflows, analyze data, and of course, create agents. That is one of the main topics today. So, but the point here is all that with the minimal coding required, so that is why it's a low code platform. Of course, if you are a pro code, you may or may not So, or on the past build that the Power Platform product team and more specific PowerApps is adding the Pro Code team connected with GitHub Copilot and allow you to generate your own Pro Code using React and other technologies. So as we can see here, we have Power BI is a business analytic tool for visualizing and analyzing data. PowerApp, as I mentioned before, a low-code application development platform for create custom business applications at some point. Power Automate, that is the tool for automating workflows, across the application services and even combining with other Microsoft platforms like M365, also Azure and others tools. Then we have Power Pages. Power Pages is like the Power Platform way or the low-code way to create a public-facing website. So using low-code, you can create a public-facing website. And of course, Copilot Studio, it's the platform for building AI-driven agents, without needing on extensive coding knowledge. Okay, and of course we have Copilot to combine it. But something quick here before jumping to the Fabric, to Gaston share a little bit what is Fabric. Today we are going to see the Plan Designer. Plan Designer is it's a combination of different agents to help you to create a solution. We're going to see how it works on the demo, but think on a group of agents or a team of agents helping you to create the best solution and suggesting you different artifacts and part of the solution. So what we are going to have on our Plan Designer, of course, we're going to use Dataverse, that is a relationship database for the Power Platform, or I like to say that the Dataverse is a group of services on top of data. It's not just a database. Of course, Copilot and agent using Copilot Studio, and then manage environment to manage environment. And then the Plan Designer is going to suggest us different artifacts, like, for example, applications, a Power App application that could be model-driven, Canvas app, also going to suggest us Power Automate flows, Copilot Studio agent, and Power BI reports too. But let's jump into that quickly. This is pretty much how the Plan Designer looks like at the first glance. If you access to the Power App main page, you are going to see that first, let's make a plan, and then you can start interacting with the agent. As you can see here on the left-hand side, the agent is going to start working first on the rows and then the tables and all. I promise in 5 or 6 minutes, we are going to see that in action. So let's jump. Let's jump with over Gaston and talk a little bit about Fabric and what is Microsoft Fabric effectively.
Sounds good, Alex. And actually, Fabric is a little bit more than 2 years in the general availability space. So what Microsoft is pitching around Fabric is a whole SaaS solution, a whole unified solution in the data platform space. That means that if we go to the next slide, you can see that in Fabric coexist different options in terms of workloads of what's coming to Fabric. So you have, based on your role and based on your activity, you can pick on data factory or data engineer or data warehouse or real-time intelligence, or of course, Power BI is part of the Fabric family. So one of the workloads is for the data visualization layer that Power BI is almost 10 years on that family, on that front of building data visualization layer. So if you are looking for ingestion patterns, you are going to be leveraging Data Factory. If you are looking for notebooks, for example, or Lakehouse, you're going to be going to the analytics space. If you really need SQL is one of the newest workloads out of Fabric. So you have databases within Fabric, so you can speed up your SQL database directly in Fabric. If you're working with real-time intelligence, you have a whole items and artifacts that lives in the real-time intelligence, like the event streams, event houses, where you can ramping up with telemetry of different systems and working with IoT devices and so on. Power BI, as we mentioned before, for the database layer, of course, is going to be there. And there's a whole templates around industry solutions, some of them in retail, in financial services. And of course, one of the main aspects that Alex shared with us before, AI is almost everywhere. That means that you have Copilot embed as an experience in every single bucket within Fabric. So you're going to see Copilot in Data Factory, you're going to see Copilot in the notebooks experience, in the real-time intelligence, in the SQL experience. And of course, today we're going to be showing a little bit of Copilot in the Power BI space as well. The backend of Fabric is one lake. So that means that there's a whole public Delta Parquet format. Every time you land data in Fabric, that data could be structured or unstructured, but you're going to see the data in a public format. That means that you can get access to the data from different systems like Databricks, for example. So, and the last but not least, Purview. Purview is a whole data catalog, governance, and data quality services that you have embedding within Fabric itself. So that's pretty much a global context to understand where Fabric lives today. This is a SaaS services, so it's just another service in your Azure portal that you can speed up a new Fabric services. And of course, you can set up a whole Fabric trial version. So you can go to the developer program out of Microsoft. You can speed up your new tenant. You can have PowerApps, Power Automate, Copilot Studio, trial versions for all of them. You can try and be hands-on in all these tool sets.
Yeah, that's right. You don't need to pay for play. You know, it's as I say, you can create your own Microsoft 365 developer account and test or validate and see how it looks like in terms of Microsoft 365 Power Platform, Fabric, Azure with credits, and also you don't need to buy licenses to validate technology or also learn how the technology works. Okay, let's jump into the demo. Enough blah blah blah, and let's jump into the demo directly. Okay, so something happens here. Okay, don't worry. Okay, you're seeing the homepage of PowerApp, right?
Yep.
Okay, so for all, maybe or may not, some of you know about PowerApps and all, but if not, the homepage of PowerApp is located on make.powerapps.com. If you access to make.powerapp.com, you should see something like that. Okay, I am going to change my environment here because we have a connection with Gaston. So give me a second. I will open this environment here that the name is PowerMate. So let's jump into it. Okay, we're here. So what are you seeing here on the homepage is what Microsoft named the plan designer. This part here, this part here is the plan designer. Let's make a plan, and then the text box to describe a problem that your user have today or what you need effectively. Of course, on the left-hand side, we have the traditional menu for Power Apps to create plans, applications, tables, flows, and all. So nothing changed in that regard. So let's create a plan designer. Let's create a plan using plan designer. And let's click here. That's important. Let's click here on include preview features, because with that, we are going to see a couple of new features that are interesting in terms of what happened when you are creating a plan, in terms of processes, where the artifact and the tables and the rows are participating on the different process. So it's really nice. So let's click on include new preview features, and let's create a solution. Of course, I'm going to add here a super small description of what I need, but it's on purpose because I need to do that pretty quick because we only have 45 minutes for the demo. So if I write like a requirement document here, it's going to take some time for the agent to process, create the roles, and create also. I'm going to just pay that. It's just simple. I need a solution to manage Power BI licenses and Fabric capacities. Just that, okay? Just that. Of course, you can add source here. That means that you can add some, for example, an entity relationship diagram to see how your data model should look like. You can add images on how the applications should look like and all. But yeah, let's keep that empty for today and let's see how it looks like. So I only say I need a solution to manage Power BI licenses and Fabric capacities. So let's click on go and let's see what happens. So this is the as I mentioned on the first slides, we have here our team of agents or personas on some point or working on the solution. As you can see here, they say, okay, there's 5 agents or 5 something collaborating here, and that's okay. It's Alex, is me because I'm the one who is working, but also it's working the requirement agents, the process agent, the data agent, and the solution agent. And the agent are going to work on that exact order. The first agent that is going to be working is the requirement agent, is the one who taking what you described. Then the process agent, data agent, and the solution agent is the last one, and is the one who is going to suggest you the Power App applications, Power Automate, Copilot Studio, Power BI, and so on. Okay? So, as you can see here on the left-hand side, have the business problem. That was exactly what I wrote. The purpose of the plan serves a blueprint for addressing the business problem described above. It's good because if you describe your solution in a good way, and it's a complete description, you can effectively use that as a blueprint for your solution. It's pretty much a documentation of how for example, user requirement, you have the business administrator is the person responsible for managing Power BI licenses and Fabric capacity. Then describe what the user needs to do. Then the second role or user requirement, the agent inferred was the employee, employee who use the Power BI and capacities. And also you can click here and say, it looks good, no, I need to edit. And that could be like, I don't know, add a role for business unit manager. Thinking out loud here, but you can also, if you say, okay, that's good, I'm okay with those 2 roles, but also I need another role that is a business unit manager. And then the agent is suggesting you what the business unit manager should look like with the needs too. You can click on edit and edit the needs and edit the names and the titles and all. So, and as you can see here on the right hand side, we can start seeing what the name is processes. So the process agent identified 2 processes, manage Power BI license and manage Fabric capacities. And that makes sense because on my description, what I said was I need a solution to manage Power BI licenses and Fabric capacity. So it makes sense that, okay, Alex, you have 2 processes, manage Power BI license and manage Fabric capacities at first glance. Last thing I want to show you here is if we click on view process, that is going to show us how that start to look like, review license requests, if approved, yes or no, assign the Power BI license. If not, license rejects and you need to do something else and maybe send a communication or a notification that your request was rejected or whatever. And the same thing if we check the other process, the fabric capacities process is the same. You have a process here. You have the process already. You don't need to start OpenVisio and design your process. You can use that as a starting point and start adding different structure here. You can move around and start doing different. Okay, so let's go back here and let's keep this and say looks good. So then here, let's go to regenerate the process because we have a new role that is a business use unit manager. So now, because we are the business unit manager, then the agent infer that we have another process that did the reporting and monitoring. So as you can see, it's pretty smart how the agent is working and collaborating each other to suggest you the best approach for your process, and taking what you are adding on the different steps. I love that. I don't know, maybe I am the only, but I love that. Okay, so as I mentioned before, the third agent that start working with us is the data agent, generating the data model. This is the part that Gaston and show more on this kind of session is when we start talking about data models and tables and relationships and all. But let's do that quickly. As you can see here, what the data agent did was suggesting us different tables that we need to support our solution. And also this is showing here is okay. You have your processes. Remember, Alex, that you mentioned that we have 3 different processes, and then we have the tables that are going to be implied on each process. Okay, so that's good. And also, if I click here on show details, okay, show details here, what is going to happen is we are going to see like the entity relationship model. The name for that is the data workspace. This is the name for Microsoft or the Power Platform and Dataverse team name that is the data workspace. But at the end of the day, is an entity relationship diagram. Of course, you can see the tables, the relationship within tables, the name of the columns, the types of the column, primary keys, and all. And as usual here, you can use Copilot here on the right-hand side to add more tables. Also, you can add existing tables, and this is new and it's good because when you're using Dataverse, probably, and you are creating like a business solution, you already have the accounts table, contact tables, and also because this is the basis of the Dataverse and the business application. So you don't need to create another table that maybe like this employee. Don't need. It's like the contact or users or some of the tables you have already created on Dataverse are probably populated with your users, okay? And also you can create relationship here, relating tables with other tables. Let's go back here. So again, this is the same, exactly same. I could say looks good, okay? Or I click here on edit and say add a table for type of Power BI licenses. For example, on Power BI, you have like pro licenses and different type of licenses. So let's assume that we need this table to manage this, but it's simple. Again, Power BI license. So if I click again on show details, that's going to show me that table here. So I can say, okay, this Power BI license should be connected with create a relationship. Okay, I did wrong, but let's say it's connected with the license because the license have a Power BI license type. So let me check if I can do that quickly. Sometime it's not working as I'm expecting. Okay, but don't worry. It's like, okay, let's do it here quickly. So you can create relationship, Power BI license type, the relationship type, one to many, many to one to many, the type of the relationship, if it's a lookup column or not, display name and all, as usual, when you are creating a column and a relationship on directly on the tables on Dataverse. But let's skip that for now. Let's return to the overview. And let's say we are okay. I'm okay with the data model. Let's keep here. Looks good. So here, what we are going to see is the last agent taking the action, is the solution agent. The solution agent is the agent that is going to suggest us the different Power Platform artifact that should be included on each processes or the solution. So as you can see here now, we have the license management, we have a model-driven application for license management, a Canvas app application for the license request, another model-driven application for the business unit management, an agent for the license request agent. So probably this is an agent that you can use just to request your license, and you don't need to create or use a Power App application. And then we have tables here. But let's say that we are okay. But for example, this sounds pretty weird that we have reporting and monitoring here, but we don't have a Power BI report to reporting and monitoring. So let's click on edit. And let's say add a Power BI report for reporting and monitoring. Please, Alex, type correct, monitoring. Okay. So what should happen here is like the solution agent should understand that I am saying add a Power BI report to the process reporting and monitoring. That could fail. We are working live, but is what should happen, as you can see here. We have the report for license and capacity here. Okay. So let's click on keep. Let's click on looks good. I'm going to do that fast. Let's click on save tables. If not, I'm going to take all Gaston time here, and I don't want to do that. And save as a solution. That's what happened. Everything we are building here and adding is at the end of the day is a Power Platform solution. So if after we save here, if you open the solution, you're going to see all the artifacts here and also the plan. And that's a good point because you have a plan. So you can click on the plan, you can edit the plan and save again. And also you can share the plan, as I mentioned, as a blueprint. It's just as a skeleton for your architecture of the solution. You don't need to start implementing. You can just validate with the stakeholder, for example, and say, okay, this solution makes sense to you. That's okay. This is what we have. This is all the artifact we have, the table relationship, and all. So Power BI and Fabric Management, Canadian Summit. I'm also wearing the Putin t-shirt today just because we are on the Canadian Sun. Save. So let's save here. So when I save the tables, what I did was I am saving the tables and creating the tables in the Dataverse. Okay. So let's wait a couple of seconds here. Let me open another tab. Make powerapp.com. In the meanwhile, this is saving. I want to show you how the tables and then show how what happened. So what happened here after we create the solution? Our solution is supported by the tables, okay, on Dataverse tables. So everything that we create for licenses and all, okay, new licenses was assigned to Gaston. So the Power BI licenses Pro is assigned to Gaston, and the type is, okay, I mentioned Pro, and it's valid till December 31st, 2025. all that information is going to be stored on Dataverse. So what we want to do at the end of the day is, okay, the users and all are working and working with the solution on Power Platform. So we want to connect that information stored on Dataverse. We want to connect that to Fabric to continue do more analytics and do different kind of things, more relating with an analysis and data, not just with the Dataverse. Okay, so if let me open here one of the applications here quickly. So last point here is, so every time you click on the plus symbol here, create, what happens is you click and you are going to be on the agent, or the plan design is going to start creating the artifact for you. In this case, if you click on the Canvas app, it's going to start creating the Canvas application. You click on the model ribbon, the model ribbon. If you click on the agent, it's going to create an agent on Copilot Studio. And also, they have a new enhancement here. When you, on the Power Automate, if you click the plus, that is new. That is going to redirect you to the Power Automate Copilot with the description of what your flow needs to do. So you can start creating your Power Automate flow, but taking the input from the previous step. So that's great. So as you can see here quickly, we have the Power App ready to use. Of course, you need to add your logos, you need to add or remove different behaviors, but at the end of the day, you can click on employees, let's suppose, and you can see, this is an example, but you can see employees, you can add new employees and licenses and all, and it's going to be stored on Dataverse. So last thing here for my end is, this is how the tables on Dataverse looks like when we are on a Power Platform environment. Okay, these are all the tables I have. Here's are the license for Power BI. Okay, Power BI license. Power BI license type was the one I created a couple of minutes ago. So what we want to do here is we want to be able to connect Fabric to our tables. Okay, let's assume that we create the solution. We are working, the users are working with the Power App application, the flow, the agent, and all. So let's assume we want to connect with Fabric. So we click here on Analyze, and we click here on Link to Microsoft Fabric. And when we click on Link to Microsoft Fabric, it's going to start asking for a couple of, let's say, information or on some way the credentials to connect the Power Platform environment, as you can see here, with the Fabric. So I'm going to head over to Gaston to start from the Fabric side of things. Let's assume here that we create the connection, click here. So we select, we go click on next, we choose the workspace. The workspace, Gaston could elaborate more over that, but the workspace is how we work on Power BI and Fabric, and then review and create the connection. So come back to you, Gaston.
Sounds good, Alex. So I'm gonna be sharing my screen here and picking up off what just Alex discussed before. So remember that we talk about Fabric. That's a unified platform for all different roles in the data platform space. That means data engineers, data scientists, data architects, Power BI report creators, and so on. All the time, first of all, I suggest to picking up on the URL that I'm using back there, because it's nothing different like app.powerba.com. I am using exactly the same URL, and I'm signing in with my account. So you can check back here in the top of my screen that I'm using an account. I am using a trial version of Fabric. So I always encourage to test these kind of things by yourself, because that is the best way to learn. You can go to Microsoft Learn, there's a bunch of blogs, articles in the community all over the place, but best way for me to learn a new tool is like this, is just create your own tenant, just create your trial version, and just start, working on different data that you know and you love. Could be any kind of data, because today you have more than 200 connectors in the Fabric space, and that means that you can get data from almost anywhere, on-premises system, REST API, SharePoint, and so on. In all the workloads that we see back here, you can see that there's a data factory workload, data engineer workload, Power BI workload, and so on. So it's really interesting, what Alex shared with us, because he was creating a whole Power Apps experience, starting with the business planner, starting just with a prompt. He created a bunch of tables for this kind of data model that we are building in the Power Apps space. That data lives today in the backend of Dataverse. Dataverse is the backend almost per default for every single Power Apps. So when you start thinking about ingesting the pattern or getting ingestion into Fabric for any Power Apps that has all the data in Dataverse, you can have multiple options here. And let's talk about that. One option is going with data factory experience back here, and you can see in the left of my screen multiple options in this space. You can use data flows into, if you come from the Power BI world, you're going to be happy with that experience, because data flows into is exactly the same as Power Query in Power BI. So if you love the way you can design extraction and transforming data, data flows into is exactly for you, because that is exactly the same experience as a Power BI users. Data pipeline, if you've been leveraging Azure Data Factory or more kind of old school SQL integration services, that is a perfect way to start the ingestion process for you, because data pipeline emulate pretty much all the activities and features that you have in Azure Data Factory. But I'm going to use another option. That's the third option to ingest data into the Fabric ecosystem. And that option is really straightforward, because in my case, I'm going to go with the workspace. We have the demos 2025 workspace. We have different artifacts back here. One of the artifacts is Lakehouse that I create before. Remember that any kind of artifact, you can go to the top of your screen in your this is my workspace at this point. You can go to this item here and you can create any of the items in the Fabric family. And you can see all the different artifacts that you have. The visualization layer, multiple artifacts. To get the data option, of course, multiple artifacts back there. To store the data again. So you have all the artifacts that lives in the Fabric space and that you can create in the Fabric space. Some people ask me, hey, Gaston, I cannot see some of the options here. Remember that those options belongs directly to the admin of the tenant. So if you have admin rights, you can enable all these preview options sometimes directly in the admin portal. Sometimes you cannot see all of them because they are not enabled in your tenant. That's why I always suggest to create your own tenant and create a trial version, because that allows you to see the whole picture of Fabric. In my case, if I look to the Lakehouse experience, I can easily go here and create a new Lakehouse. So you can come here and say, hey, Cloud Summit, Lakehouse. And you can create a Lakehouse directly from here. Remember that the Lakehouse has the ability to have structured data and unstructured data. So if you have video files, image files, JSON files, you can drop them directly into the Lakehouse experience. If you have tables directly, structured data, you can also have those kind of tables directly in the Lakehouse. In my case, I already have this Lakehouse up and running, and you can see in the left of my screen, you have, as I mentioned before, tables and files. So that depends on if you have a structured data and unstructured data, you're going to be with tables in the structured side of things. If you have unstructured data, you're going to be dropping that in files. And multiple ways to upload data to the Lakehouse. One is just click on the upload files, and anything that you have in your system, you can go here and just upload any kind of file to your lakehouse. Just quick and easy, like you are doing with a file explorer in Windows. Multiple options. I mentioned some of them. You can create a new data pipeline. If you are a data engineer and you are used to work with Azure Data Factory all the time, that's a pretty robust option for all of you. If you come from the Power BI world, you have this option that is creating a new data flow chain too, and that's another really great option to upload data into the lakehouse. The one that I would love to share with all of you today is the shortcut option. You can create a new shortcut, and the great experience around shortcut is that you are not moving the data. So Alex can keep adding more data to the PowerApps and building the end-to-end solution in PowerApps, but while I am shortcutting to that data that I have in the Dataverse, I am not moving that data. I just reference to the data and say, hey, whatever you have in the Dataverse space, I would love to replicate or reference that data into the lakehouse. So we are not moving the data. We are looking to the data that lives in the Dataverse ecosystem. So I can go here to the new shortcut. You can see that I can shortcut multiple sources. I can shortcut, for example, one lake data, and I can shortcut anything that I have in any lakehouse or data warehouse or KQL database across the Fabric space. Or you can even go into the new shortcut experience and you can shortcut against any of these external sources. So you can reference data that you lives in Amazon or GCP or a blob storage or Dataverse. So in our case, I'm going to be using this option over here because, of course, we mentioned that Dataverse is everything that by default create in the Power Platform space. So I'm going to click in the Dataverse option. You can do two things here, or you create a new connection from scratch. If I create a new connection from scratch, I need to go with Alex and say, hey, Alex, give me the details on the connections that I need to connect to Dataverse. That means that Alex should be able to give me this environment domain that you can see here, that the environment domain should look like this, orgname.crm.dynamics.com. So that is the structure of the domain. In my case, I'm going to use the existing connection because I already built this with a connection, but of course I can go and say, hey, I would love to edit this to check on the details. So in my case, you can see that I have my common data service org name. I am using an organizational account, and this is the account that I'm using to connect to my Dataverse. So pretty much what I'm showing here is you can create your own connection that reference the data in your Dataverse, and it's going to show you all the details. And let me show you exactly that, because when I follow the structure, I can see all the details. In my case, I am referencing the licensing table, so you can see all the tables that lives in that Dataverse environment. Of course, it could be multiple PowerApps creating on that bucket, but you can go and say, hey, this is exactly the table that I would love to reference to bring the data into the Fabric ecosystem. And remember that you're not moving the data, so no need to refresh your data. Meaning that Alex keep working on the PowerApps and adding more user constraints and licensing that he is giving to different users, and that action that is happening in the PowerApps ecosystem is going to be reference the data into this bucket of the shortcut with the Dataverse in Fabric. That means that without any gateway, without any refresh need on our end, the data in the lakehouse is going to be up to date because this shortcut is going to be referenced that data. And this is the picture of knowing that this table and this small icon over there, that is the one that is showing that you are talking about a shortcut and not a real table happening in the Fabric ecosystem. So you have all the columns, and all these columns, all this structure lives directly in the Fabric space. And you can see all the Alex names everywhere because he's the one playing around with the power apps. It's not Gaston. It's Alex playing with the power apps ecosystem. So, couple of things that I would love to recall. First of all, if you need to transform the data, again, you just load the data into the lakehouse. Next big thing is, hey, I need to transform the data or change in the data. So the change of the data or transformation of the data, you can go and create a notebook, create a new notebook, or go into the data flow space and keep transforming the data, change the data types, remove any columns or anything that you need in terms of manipulation of the data. That's in one bucket. The next thing is, if you want to keep adding more data, of course, the get data option let you keep adding more data. That could be uploading new files, that could be images, audios, videos, whatever you have, or even in any other ecosystem that you want to bring data from SharePoint or from a SQL on premises or from an Oracle database, even outside the Microsoft space. Then the next topic that I would love to share with you is the new semantic model. So I'm going to click on this icon over there, and the new semantic model allow me to create the semantic model in top of this data that I have in the lakehouse. So I can go here and say, hey, Cloud Summit semantic model, and then I can click on the tables, and in my case I have only one table. But if I have multiple tables, again, I can have that experience of having multiple tables and building those relationships in multiple tables. So I can go here because I already have in my workspace that semantic model up and running. I can go here and you can see that I have this data model, and you can see something that is really important on this screen. That is this line over there, that is a blue line in the top of the name of the table, that allow you to see that this table that I have over there in the advanced option right on my screen, this is mentioning that the connection is direct lake connection. And this is really important because, as we mentioned before, the team from PowerApps could be working anytime, adding or changing files or data in the PowerApps ecosystem. And because we have a direct lake connection between the lakehouse and the shortcut from Dataverse, that means that the data is going to be refreshed automatically for you. So I don't need to refresh the lakehouse anytime. It's going to be up to date with the latest data that lives in that PowerApps ecosystem. What is next? After we have the semantic model, of course, this is a really simplified semantic model. I can keep adding more tables, building relationships, creating measures in top of that with business logic, using DAX as a language, programming language. But you can keep working on your semantic model. When you're ready to go, what is going to happen next? I'm going to go to the file option here, and you're going to be creating a new report from the semantic model. I did that, but also I did the following. I am going to edit this option in the report. And what I did here, instead of taking a lot of time to create this report, I just click in this icon in top of my screen. So again, I am using Copilot as an assistant, and I came back here to Copilot, and I asked Copilot this question. We can start describing whatever you need. And remember that Copilot is not going to be doing magic if you are not working on your semantic model. The best analogy for AI topics is garbage in, garbage out. If you're not working on your semantic model, if you're not spending time to curate, clean the data, transform the data, working on data type, trying to remove and use columns, creating your business logic with DAX statements to create the right measures, working on time intelligence, working on a common date table, some tips and tricks on that front. But remember that Copilot is not going to be doing magic for you. You need to be prepared to work on the semantic model and then go in here and say, hey, for example, I want Copilot to suggest content for a new report page. So you can go here and suggest new content for the new report. It's going to be getting the data to understand the semantic model, and it's giving you some options. Yeah, I can create for you a license usage overview, or a license assignment by user, or a type of distribution, or activity timeline. I can use any of the suggestions here and say, hey, yes, go ahead and create that page for me. And once it start loading, it start creating that page for you, actually. And based on that page, you can get here, and everything is something that you can just bring here and change whatever you have and keep adding more visuals. You can change anything, even if Copilot create that for you. If you are not familiar with your semantic model, or you don't like exactly that summarize that it's giving for you, you can remove or change anything that Copilot creates for you. In my case, for example, I bring this one to see kind of the license usage over time, another with the user activities and the latest user access to their licensing in our tenant. But also I add this visual that I always try to use this visual because this is a narrative. And again, this visual is leveraging Copilot behind the scenes. So it's explaining, in this case, I'm asking for this visual, hey, give me an executive summary in top of what I'm showing in this page. So it's saying, for example, total license number is this one. Type distribution is this one. Last user access, the most recent access by user was in this date. So it is giving me a lot of insights based on the data that I see in the report itself. So it's great to see that you can use this visual, and anytime you click in any slice or slicing the data, anytime you are slicing the data, the summary is going to be changing for you and recalculate the executive summary. So it's a dynamic visual that is creating the narrative for all of you. So that's pretty much what I would love to share with all of you, because this is a mix between Alex starting with PowerApps, showing all the Copilot and the agent and the options in the PowerApps side of things, landing the data in the Dataverse, and we went directly from that Dataverse option until we start loading data in the Fabric space with the lakehouse structure, with the semantic models, and ending up creating a Power BI report from scratch, just leveraging Copilot.
Yeah, that's right, Gaston. Thank you. Thank you for your presentation and explaining about Fabric. So, okay, that's all for today, guys, and for our session. Please keep here. There's another session starting in 10 minutes. So, not sure if there's any questions around. If not, you can contact us on LinkedIn or Twitter. Maybe LinkedIn will be the best way. And of course, if you want to know more around what we are doing, our YouTube channel, sharing again, pretty much same thing we're doing today, talking about Power Platform, Fabric, and some Azure services. This is a place to have some fun. Again, thank you to the sponsors, and that's it. Thank you very much.
Alex, would you be able to post your YouTube channel in the chat so people can actually follow it? That would be great.
Yeah, yes, give me a second.
Sure.
We'll do that. Okay. I cannot write on the chat. Not sure what happened. Are you able, Gaston, to type on the chat?
Yeah.
I don't know what happened. My side didn't say you cannot type on the chat.
Let me bring that. Let me bring that back on my end so everybody can see and check on the channel.
Yeah, or maybe if you can share it so people can. look it up again.
Yeah.
I just post in the chat back there. So
Awesome.
anytime you want to link that link, that's
Perfect.
available for everyone. And we are trying to post weekly videos every Thursday, so you can catch up on all the mix between AI, business applications, and data platform.